Good evening, and thank you for joining me this evening. First of all, I'd like to thank Rabbi Feigenbaum for arranging the technical side of things and making sure that we can broadcast our messages in these difficult times. I want to start this evening on a bit of an upbeat note. I know we're surrounded by sad news all the time, but I want to express our gratitude to really the heroes who have rose to the occasion and really demonstrated amazing selflessness. So first of all, just a couple groups I want to highlight, but I'm sure there's more. There's all the healthcare providers, from the doctors to the nurses. And as I mentioned last week, there was a call for more volunteers in New York, which has become the epicenter of the virus, which is raging. And there were thousands of volunteers that have stepped forward, retired nurses, retired physicians, and stepped forward and put their own lives at risk so other people can live to another day. And in these difficult times, it's important to go ahead and really reflect and be grateful for these heroes. Also want to go ahead and identify another group of people which are really important part of society today. And I think we have to pay more attention to them. Those are the people that are working in the grocery stores and the supermarkets. You know, they're in constant contact with people all day. They don't have the luxury of social distancing, and they're the cashiers, they're stocking the shelves, they're the people behind the counters, they're the truck drivers bringing in food and basic necessities so we can go ahead and have our basic necessities. And, you know, we have to really pay attention to those people and thank them profusely for all the amazing and selfless work that they are doing on our behalf. So now I want to go ahead and get to my remarks this evening, and that is that you know, the title of our presentation tonight is called "Can We Handle the Truth?" And I got that, you know, it's a famous quote from a movie. It came out, I believe, in the 90s. It was something I believe Jack Nicholson said when he was told on the witness stand, "I want the truth." And Nicholson responded, I forget his name on camera, but he responded, "You can't handle the truth." And I believe that's something that we are confronted today, at least the way I see it. I see the truth in front of me. I see the truth in front of us. And the question is, can we handle it? You know, I one time heard from a rabbinic colleague that the goal of a rabbi should be, in general, to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comforted. And sometimes it's not easy to go ahead and afflict the comforted. But I think this evening, it's important, I think, to address some of that. And that is that it's become very apparent that our modern global society, that we had the illusion was so advanced in terms of its advances in technology, medicine, and a modern, innovative economy, right now is at its knees. The two superpowers of our time, China and the United States, have become just a shadow of what they were just a short time ago. The bustling places here in the US, such as Times Square, the Strip on Las Vegas, have become shadows of what they were just a few weeks ago, become desolate places with a feeling of a ghost town. Somebody asked us just a few months ago if anybody could have imagined this. Of course not. Trillions of dollars have been lost collectively just here in the United States with the contraction of the stock market and people's savings going out the windows. There's not one sector in the economy that has not been affected by this. And at the same time, the smartest people in the world, the most innovative people in the world, the people that belong to governments, the people that belong to private sectors, the people that belong to the medical field, are staying up day and night trying to go ahead and get a handle on the situation. And are they being successful? And I think the sad reality is at this time, people have lost real confidence in any agency, government, or entity around the world, as hard and as good, well-meaning as their efforts are. We as human beings now are scrambling. It's becoming clear, very clear, that we as humanity are not in control neither of our destiny nor of what will happen tomorrow. It says in Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, and the part of the Tochacha, the part of the rebuke, when humanity will experience difficult times, it says, "Baboker tomar miiten erev ube'erev yomar miiten boker." In the morning we will say, "What will the evening bring?" And in the evening we will say, "What will the morning bring?" Because things are so unstable. God tells us in Sefer Devarim, we're not going to know what the next day will bring. I think that's a very bitter reality for all of us as we go to sleep one night and we look at the figures of how many people are infected and how many people have passed away in the United States, in the state of New York, and wherever the place may be, and we think about what tomorrow will bring, how bad will it get? That's reliving what God promised in the Tochacha when things will get bad for humanity. So we as people have lost really control of the situation, and we're at the mercy of some microscopic pathogens, as these microscopic pathogens now have 3 billion people, approximately 3 billion people locked in their homes, not literally locked, but hunkered down and hoping for the best. So that's what I mean by saying, can we handle the truth? The truth that we are no longer in control. We were never in control. At least we thought we were. We're being woken up and realizing that we as human beings who just a few short weeks ago thought that we were controlling the economy, all the private sector, all the governments, whoever it is, all the success we had from every sector, we're at the mercy of some microscopic pathogens. And as I mentioned last week, the first step towards a new beginning, as it's identified in the 12 steps of recovery, is to realize that we are not in control, that we admit that we have become powerless. So in this case, I say to paraphrase the first of the 12 steps. Once again, I paraphrase it this week by saying that we admit that we are powerless over the daily happenings in our lives, and our lives have become unmanageable. So someone say, well, that's about someone that's addicted to a substance. What does this have to do with us? But the reality is that we were addicted to this illusion. We were addicted to this illusion that we are in control of our destiny, of the modern world. And we thought, of course, there were pandemics, but that was when there was no modern medicine. That's when, all the medical files were not, on an electronic version. Now, today we go into a hospital, we see tens of thousands of dollars of machinery. The Spanish flu pandemic in 1918, that's when medicine wasn't so advanced. We have grown the field of medicine by leaps and bounds in the last 102 years since the pandemic of 1918. However, this has woken us up and realized we're just as powerless as they were in 1918 in that pandemic. Which leads us to the next level. I call that of Emunah, and we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. That power greater than ourselves, we believe, is Almighty God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then finally, in the third step, we make our decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. And that's not an easy thing, because that's asking us, and that's what Chazal, the sages, have taught us, is that we have to submit ourselves to the will of God. Us, in 2020, in the year 2020, I'm a modern person. We're very progressive. We live in a time of the most innovation that the world has ever seen, the most modernity that the world has ever seen. How can I submit myself to the will of God? But we are learning the hard way. We are learning the hard way that we are not in control. Can we handle this truth? God gave us a mission in this world, and He wants us to be successful. He wants us to be thriving. He wants us to go ahead and have major accomplishments. But He doesn't want us to forget about Him. And when we forget about Him, sometimes we have to be woken up. I'm not suggesting, I know the reason why all this pain is happening, why all these tragedies are happening, that I am not a prophet and I do not know. But what I do know is what the Torah teaches us. The Torah teaches us that we need to submit to His will, as uncomfortable truth as that may be. And I want to identify one specific tangible example tonight that I think is very pertinent, and I think we can all go ahead and reflect on this, and that really talks about submitting to the will of God. That's the mitzvah of Shabbos, the mitzvah of the Shabbat. Because the point of resting on the Sabbath, on the Shabbat, is to precisely reinforce this message that we are not in control, and God is the creator of the world. And not only that He created the world once upon a time, but He actually manages world affairs as well. So He asks us to rest on the Sabbath eve, Friday afternoon, and rest till Shabbos is over 25 hours later. And we say that we can't. We can't because we have to make more money sometimes, or we have other obligations. We have other obligations. Our kids may be playing sports or wherever it is. We have to realize what's going on now. As hard as we tried to make our livelihood, we're being shown that we're not in control. Sports, NCAA, MLB, which was supposed to have the season opener this week, NBA, NHL are shut down. The world is silent in that area as well, in that sector as well. But if anybody is saying to themselves, I do keep the Shabbos, I am Shomer Shabbos, I checked that box already, I would say to everyone listening who may have said that to yourselves, we all need to grow in this area. We all need to improve the state, the way we keep the Shabbos in a qualitative way, both in thou shall, the Zohar aspect, and the thou shall not. The Zohar aspect is doing things that are positive for Shabbos, having Shabbos dinner with your family, making the Kiddush, having that meal, spending time with family, reflecting with God. And I recognize that for some that are single or elderly people that are alone, it may not be easy. But sometimes meditating and spending time with our relationship with God, that is very fulfilling as well. And then there's the thou shall not, the shamor aspect. The shamor aspect of what is expected of us. And just give one small example. It's come to the attention of many. There's, with the situation, people are hunkered down. Can we go ahead and make a Seder this year via Zoom? The grandparents are here, the grandchildren are here. We'll have a Seder via Zoom. Is this halachically okay? And to be honest, I have not fully researched this halachic question yet, so I can't offer my opinion, halachic opinion on this. But just the question, we're already looking for a leniency. We're already looking for a leniency. God has precisely told us, we're in quarantine. We're in bidud, as it says in Hebrew. that's something to reflect on. We're already trying to kind of search for that leniency. Shmira Shabbos, the observance of Shabbos, is something that we all can improve on, because that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to submit to his will, not because he's trying to be all bossy and he's punishing us by being punitive, because he wants that relationship with us. He wants that relationship with us. So that's my challenge to everybody listening here right now. And that is that Shabbos begins tomorrow evening. So take the Shabbos challenge. It's a quiet weekend anyways. Put away the phone, turn off the TV. The news will wait till after Shabbos anyways. Tell your friends that you're keeping Shabbos this week. Or at the very least, Friday night, no phone, no TV, till Saturday morning at the very least. And to those that self-identify as Shomer Shabbos and say, I checked the box, we all need to improve our game. Our Shabbos we should spend more time meditating on our relationship with God. We're not going to be in shul. We should spend more time with our family, speaking respectfully to one another, more time singing, more time praying. If you're by yourself, which is challenging, you still have an opportunity to thrive on your relationship with God. It can be done. The people that have values, and values mean something, everything else becomes details. And I've mentioned the example of El Al Airlines. I love El Al Airlines. And it's not because it has Hebrew letters on the airplane, and it's not because they have the best security, and that's both true. It's because they are a Shomer Shabbos airline. They keep Shabbos. Not only that, not only do they do not fly 52 Shabbos of the year, Shabbats of the year, but they don't fly on Jewish holidays. What airline in the world will willingly give up their revenue like that? And that's because they have a value for the Shabbat. They have a value for a relationship with God. That's what it means to be Jewish. Obviously, we're a Jewish people. We have, many different interpretations, but when we see an airline coming out and making such a statement, that should strengthen us all. So my message to you, dear friends, as we're suffering, and everyone's suffering, personally, I have an uncle in the ICU fighting for his life in New York, and a victim of the corona pandemic. And everybody has family that has been affected in one way or another. It's important not to just pretend that, okay, let's just wait till this passes by. Let's stay in quarantine. Let's watch a lot of Netflix until this passes by. Let's reflect on the true message. Or at least I believe one of the true messages is that God is trying to wake us up and have a relationship with him. I want to end on a more optimistic note. Conclude, I guess, if up until now I was afflicting the comforted, I want to comfort the afflicted. And that is, today was Rosh Chodesh, today was the first day of the month of Nisan. And we have to understand that why is it that the Jewish people observe the beginning of the lunar month as our calendar. And whenever we see the new moon, that's when we say it's Rosh Chodesh. And that is, I want to offer a very interesting insight I once heard. There's a Haftorah that begins with the words Machar Chodesh, tomorrow's Rosh Chodesh. The Yonasan said to David, Jonathan told David, Machar Chodesh, tomorrow's Rosh Chodesh. But it's not just that he said tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh, but rather the rabbis teach us that the new moon alludes to the history of Israel and our destiny. The moon grows to a fullness over a period of 15 days and then declines in the next 15 until it disappears. So too, there were 15 generations from Abraham to Solomon, where the Jewish people grew spiritually and physically. And then began the decline, until 15 generations later, the monarchy came to an end, and with the destruction of the temple and the Babylonian exile. But the heavens do not remain dark. The moon reappeared. So too, there will be a time of redemption for all of us suffering. That's why we link our destiny with the lunar calendar. And we say, Machar Chodesh, tomorrow there will be a new moon. It seems like it's all dark outside, and it seems that God's concealed face is more concealed than ever. But we have to remember, just like we don't see the moon at the end of the month, doesn't mean it's not there. We as Jews, as believing Jews, have always believed in the concept of Machar Chodesh. Tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. So that's my blessing to all of us. Let us be strengthened with the concept of tomorrow is a new moon, and tomorrow is a new beginning. Good Shabbos to all.